Good morning, good afternoon, whatever the time is. Hello, my name is Jake, and welcome back to the Simply Street English podcast. I am going to talk a little bit slower today, hopefully. I'll try not to get carried away and speak more at a more usual tempo. I will try and speak slower because I've had at least one person say that I'm speaking too quickly. So this is for you. Today I'm going to talk about buying a house or buying a home in the UK. There's lots of different vocabulary and it can get a bit complicated. So hopefully you enjoy the episode. Remember, if you'd like to get the transcript and support the podcast, you can do that on patreon.com/simplystreetenglish. Otherwise, just enjoy the podcast and let's talk about buying a house in the UK. So, first of all, we've got different types of homes. Now, obviously, our home is anywhere people live. So you could live in a house, you could live in a flat, or you could live in anything really, a boat even. Some people have houseboats. But let's talk about houses to begin with. First, we've got detached houses. So a detached house is a house that stands alone. So it's not connected to any other buildings or houses. So a detached house. Then you have something called a semi-detached house, which is, I think it's at least two houses joined together. It might be just two houses joined into one building. So you've got one big building that looks like one house, but it's divided into two inside. So there are perhaps two different families that live in there. So you can have a semi-detached house, which is, it's not quite a terraced, which is what I'll come on to next. A terraced house is one in a row of houses, and they're usually joined together on both sides, unless you're at the end of the row. And a row is the name for like a line of houses. You can have a row of shops, you can have a row of houses. What else have we got? We've got bungalows. Have you ever heard of a bungalow before? A bungalow is a one-story house, so there's no stairs on the inside, and they are well suited for people who are elderly or do not want stairs in their house, and they can just walk around from room to room on the same floor. So bungalows are very popular, like I said, with older people or just people who do not want stairs for whatever reason in their house. We have flats and apartments as well, which are very common. Like a flat is like a unit, like one part of a big building, and they're very common in cities. Another type of house I'm going to mention is a maisonette, because with the cost of living being so high, maisonettes are quite popular. They are like small flats, like really small houses pretty much, with their own private entrance, and they're sometimes over 2 floors, but usually they are tiny houses. And my French level is not very good, but to me, maisonette sounds like little house. Maisonette. I'm just gonna guess that. Maison. Yep. Right. That's the first part done. We're looking at different types of homes. There are probably more different types of homes out there, but those are the ones I wanted to cover. So the second part, I'm just going to talk a little bit about who owns the house that you might want to buy. So in England, we have this thing called leasehold, and it's not a good system. The government are actually trying to change things to do with leaseholds. And then on the other hand, we have freehold. Let's start with what a freehold is, because the leasehold is a little bit more complicated. If you buy a house freehold, it means you own the building and the land that it sits on. So if you buy a semi-detached freehold, you own that part of the house and the land it's on. It's yours. You can do whatever you want with it. But it's also your responsibility to fix things when it goes wrong. A leasehold property means that you own the building, but only for a set period of time. So a leasehold can be from, let's say, it can be like, you can get leaseholds which are like 900 years, and that's good because it means that you'll never have to give that house back in your lifetime. If a leasehold, however, is down to maybe 70 years, it means that one day you will have to give that house up because you don't own the land that it actually stands on, and you don't even own the house. So you have to be really careful in buying in England, at least, because you have to know whether you're buying a leasehold or a freehold. You can even have to pay ground rent to the person that owns the land. And ground rent is like a small fee. I say small fee. Might not be small because they can put it up. You have to pay the person who owns the land. So it's like renting renting the ground for a year or whatever. There can also be things like service charges, so extra fees for shared areas. So if there's a lift in the building, or if the roof needs fixing, or if the garden needs tending to. So a lot of flats in the UK are leasehold. So a lot of people rent, they don't buy leaseholds. So once you've worked out all that, you can do some house hunting. So your search begins. Let's have a look at, okay, so here's some good vocabulary. You can start to browse the listings, right? To browse means to look or to search through. So you can browse the listings on websites like Rightmove or Zoopla. They're the websites we use, at least two that I've used in the UK. You can browse some listings, so look at different houses that are available. And then if you like one, you can arrange a viewing, right? Where you book a time to go see a house. And sometimes you meet with the agent who is part of the company that is trying to sell or helping to sell. Or you can meet the people who own the house. I think it's always best to meet the people because they are the ones that are making the decision to sell the house. It's not always possible though, and sometimes you have to just meet with the agent, as I said. And we call them estate agents in the UK. I'm pretty sure in American English they call them realtors, I think. I'm not too sure, but that is what I remember they're called. But we call them estate agents. And yeah, you go see the house, you look through it, and then you see whether it's in good condition, ask your questions, and just remember to try and ask all the really important things and get a feel for the area as well. If you like the house, you'll then make an offer. So you will essentially tell the seller how much you're willing to pay. And so for example, they might put on the advert or the listing an asking price. And an asking price is the price that the seller wants for the house. For example, the asking price for a, let's say, freehold flat. Freehold flats are very rare, by the way, in England. But let's say it's a freehold flat and the asking price is £250,000. That's what they want for it. You can make an offer above the asking price if you really, really want the house. Or you can make an offer below if you are not willing to pay more than that. You have to remember though that somebody else could pay or offer more than you and you might lose the house. This is why I think it's good to meet the sellers, because they might not just choose the highest bidder. They might just choose you because they like you. A phrase that I learned once was people buy from people, and so people sell to people as well. So there's a human connection. It's not always just about the extra 5,000 here or 10,000 there. It can sometimes just be they want you to have the house because they like you. And yeah. Right, moving on. If you have a series of buyers and sellers all trying to sell their houses or find a new one, you get this thing that's called a chain. So often on the listings, you'll see it'll say something like chain free or chain kind of included, which means that they need to sell their house before you can buy theirs. Essentially, well, is that the way it works? Yeah, so if it's chain free, it means it's available and ready to go straight away. If there's a chain, there could be a break in the chain, which could mean that you don't get the house because later on in the chain something went wrong or somebody dropped out. So you really want to find something that's chain free if possible. However, it's very common that there will be a chain. So a series of buyers and sellers who are all trying to move their house. They're trying to sell their houses or buy a house. Here's an interesting word I came across when researching this. The word gazumping. Okay, this is a very specialized word. I'd never heard of it before looking into this. But if someone gazumps you, what happens is a seller might accept an offer, however, then accept a higher offer after they've already agreed to that first offer. For example, you could say, they just gazumped us, someone else offered more money. So it's not really a very nice thing, a very good thing at all. But until there's a contract, I'm not sure whether it's illegal. It's just not very kind to be a gazumping person, someone who gazumps people. So if it's under offer, that means that someone's put an offer in and they're just considering it. You've kind of got something which is called sold subject to contract as well. So it's when that's not final yet, but someone's offer has been accepted. So before all the paperwork has been signed, really. Now, because houses are so expensive and flats and everything, you might need to get a mortgage. And in fact, it's the most common way that people buy. And a mortgage is just a hefty loan. If something's hefty, it means it's big, massive, weighty, okay? So a hefty loan, it's a massive loan. So a mortgage can take you 20, 25, 30 years to pay off. But it means that it's affordable and the bank makes their money and you are able to live in a house that you would not have been able to afford in a long, long, long time. So you have to save up to begin with to put a deposit down. And a deposit is the amount of money in cash pretty much that you pay up front. So in advance, it's usually between 5 and 20%. 10% is a good kind of solid deposit. 5%, I would say it's stretching yourself a bit too much. If you can get 20 to 25 plus, then you have to pay off less in the long run. So a big deposit is good. However, it's hard to save up for a deposit when you're still renting. So it's a difficult one. You have to also bear in mind what the interest rate is as well, and that can always change. So let's say the interest rate is 5%, you have to then pay 5% over what you've paid. I don't really know how it works exactly, but you are paying a percentage over what you borrowed because then that's how the bank makes their money. So you then have things called fixed rate or variable rate mortgages, and they are opposites, so two different things. A fixed rate will stay the same, and the other one can change. The advantage of the fixed rate is that you know for however many years you will be paying that much interest. So if the interest rate goes up and down, it doesn't affect you. Okay. A variable rate one can be good because if the interest goes down, you pay less. If the interest rate goes up, you pay more. So it's a risk either way. You'll talk to someone who's a mortgage broker. So that is a person who helps you find the best deal on a mortgage, and they'll help to explain things really clearly and quickly. Well, perhaps not quickly, but clearly, right? And this means that you can try and get the best deal for you to buy your house. So you have to be paying off your mortgage every month, and so you have to be working and have enough money in the bank to be able to pay it, obviously. So number 6, I guess it's a number. We got to this point, right? Conveyancing and surveys. So in the legal process, once you've signed that you're going to buy the house, you get someone called a conveyancer, and they come and, they do the legal transfer of the property ownership. You also have solicitors. So a solicitor is someone who is a lawyer, and they handle all the paperwork and the legal side of things. What you'll also need is a property survey. So you get a surveyor to come and inspect the house or the flat, and they check the condition of the home, and they might find things which are wrong with the property, such as damp or mold, and then you'll have to get those things sorted. But what you can also do is say to the seller, hey, this is going to cost us a lot of money to fix. Therefore, we'd like to offer less money because it's going to cost us a lot, and you didn't tell us about the damp and the mold, etc. So, yeah, that's something that happens. The property survey, the surveyor comes and checks the house. Number 7, right, you've got the exchange and completion, where the deal becomes official. Okay, it looks like the contracts happen at this point. Okay, got it. So the buyer and seller sign and agree the deal, and they exchange contracts. And then you have something called a completion day, and that's where money is transferred and you get the keys. So completion is the day everyone waits for and get their keys and they can move in. I don't know why I've put this here, but you've got stamp duty that you need to pay as part of this. So it's a tax on top of property purchases, and it depends on whether you're a first-time buyer or what the law says. Essentially, you can have to pay an extra amount of tax. I think it's just very low at the minute for stamp duty for first-time buyers. It's either really low or doesn't exist for first-time buyers. The law recently changed, so it's good. It's a good thing to not have to pay too much stamp duty. And then, of course, you've got to move all your stuff from your house to the new one. So you might get a removal van, a hire company to come and help you, or just a bunch of friends. So that is an episode talking about lots of different things to do with moving house and checking out new houses, etc. I hope you've learned something. It's a bit complicated, but hopefully it's been useful to you. So thanks for listening, and I guess we'll just have to see each other in the next episode. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.